Hello, my name is Francisco. I'm currently enrolled in Dallas College, pursuing my teaching degree. First wanted to start teaching when I was in probably middle school. One of the math teachers really inspired me to become a teacher because he was more like a role model. And it was a while since I have seen that because teachers are they won't just want some teachers want to just get the job done, make sure you know what you're doing. But this teacher actually took courage and made us feel comfortable with what we were learning. So I feel like that's when math actually, or even being a teacher, just catched on to me. And I feel like I want to be that person too. It's why I'm pursuing to be a teacher. And the part of math that I like the most is probably like Mr. Professor McGee made it seem like math is a number line that never stops. And if you really think about it, numbers never really stop. It can be money, it can be math problems, but money is probably one of the biggest things that, future wise, that when you make money, you need to know how to manage it. And by knowing how to manage it, you need to know math problems because, when you have a total amount of money, you have to like distribute shit with, whatever you owe, bills and stuff like that. So I feel like math is something that we will always need, and nobody can be exempt from it because, we need money to live. We need numbers for work, no matter what type of job you have. No matter what, if you work in construction or you work in offices, there's always going to be money or numbers in it. So math is very important, and I feel like I need to get comfortable with it because I'm going to be teaching this subject in my future, career. So, and probably the math part that I dislike is the fractions. I had really big issues with fractions because I thought it was really confusing when it came to adding fractions, multiplying fractions. And that's where I started to dislike that, that specific subject. But as we went on in college and high school, I started getting more comfortable with it, but still is probably my least amount favorite, topic to even teach or work on. But I know that I need to get comfortable with it because the more comfortable you get with it, the more easier it becomes to teach it. And one of the topics that I chose to discuss was addition to whole numbers because I feel like this is actually that you can use this. I use this a lot in my, my job because we cut wood, we cut material. So, it's basically like a number line, when you have to cut a wood in half, you got to know, what amount you want, what exact number you want to cut. So I think this is very important because, if I use this in this, I know somebody else is probably going to use this in another way. And I wanted to talk about how adding whole number means that we are all combined numbers to form a total. Each number being added is called an added, and it's become a total no matter, the amount of numbers you have. So each number is, you always have to be, pay attention if it either is a negative or a positive because it's like a number line. You start from 0 and you go all the way to 1, 2, 3, and so on. But also you have to pay attention when you're going backwards from the negatives because when you come to adding and you have, you miscount those negatives, it throws off the whole problem. So it's very important to, know your whole numbers because that comes anyways. Like when you're subtracting negatives, you're always going to have a negative, right? Because I made it seem like, well, the way I've been taught, making the number line, it's always going to make it easier. So, and you always have to get the total. So that's probably one of the things that I want to keep getting more comfortable teaching it and learning it because when you add a whole number, you write the number so each place value lines up vertically. And to add the digits in each place value, you always work from right to left, starting with the ones place. when you ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands. You always have to count that way, because if you count the other way, it's not gonna be right. So I feel like that's one of the topics that I liked, and that I want to, get more comfortable with it, because even though like numbers never stop, so it's always really important to know these place values too. And also, the grades that I want to teach is probably from first grade to third grade. That's where kids start, expanding their jogging memory. They start wanting to learn. And when you make it fun, math can be fun, because we're always going to have math. And if you find good ways, fun ways to teach it to them, it's always going to stick on. And that's one of the things that I would like to imply when I come to teaching, because I had a couple teachers where, they didn't make it seem that we were going to use that specific math in the real world. But, coming to reality that you are going to use it in some point of your life. So I want to be that teacher that makes it fun to learn, making some ideas for math that make it like so they can catch on, so they can like it, they feel comfortable with it, and they want to learn. And it's just easier when you make it fun, because being creative, making a creative way of learning math, there's always going to be those kids out there that don't like math. But if you make it in a fun way, and real life examples that they're going to use one day, they're going to like it. And students with the topics that I chose about whole numbers, number lines, place values, that's something that they're going to use. So I would probably use money, because one day they're going to have money, and they're going to need to know how to manage their money. And if they don't know how to count from the ones, tens, it's going to be very difficult for them when it comes to, earning their money. And I feel online is probably one of the biggest, I had issues with online when it first started, but I know that this could happen again. So I would like to get more comfortable speaking in front of a camera. It's kind of hard. I get kind of shy. I kind of stutter a little bit. Kind of like you practice so good, and then when it comes to actually like doing it, it gets really hard for me, because I get nervous. But that's one of the things that I would like to work on, because who knows if we ever have to do online again. So I think I would definitely work on online, getting more comfortable. And if I ever have that situation for online, I feel like, practice makes perfect. So I would probably want to get more comfortable with it. And I feel like students, Mr. McGee made it very clear that, online, we might use it again. So it might as well us take it in handy and practice it, because we might use this again. And yeah, thank you.